little slow, but that happens in tournaments, right? But I love Old Town. It's got a really good mix of close range encounters and long range encounters. Lots of great crossing angles, and I've just had so many great memories on that map, especially from the Gears 3 beta. So it's got to be my favorite.
And what don't you like about it?
What don't I like about Old Town? One of the things that sometimes is a little weird about Old Town is the long corridors out of spawn. Sometimes you can get camped in those, and that's a little questionable. And sometimes there are questions about the balance of the map being on one side that's higher and one side that's lower. But I think overall they did a pretty good job of mitigating it with the weapon placement.
Okay, I got a question that I saw in the chat. When you, and I don't know, you're working with other people, when you guys are creating a map, what is your thought process when creating these maps?
It's kind of a broad question. I don't know how much detail I can get into with that question exactly.
I mean, basically, like, what do you have in mind? Because a lot of people said, like, when going into Gears Judgment, I guess it was Room. I didn't really pay attention much to Gears Judgment. It wasn't my favorite game. But a lot of people speculated that the Gears Judgment maps were predominantly based on their FFA game mode. So when you're creating a map, like, basically, what do you have in mind? Are you creating a map for all the game modes? Are you creating maps for 4v4s or 5v5s?
Sorry to cut you off, PR. Unfortunately, we can't talk about that too much.
Okay, that's perfectly fine.
It's a really good question. I think that we'll be able to answer it better when there's more news about our game out. But unfortunately, right now, it's just too early for us to really be able to talk about that. Sorry, I'm cough walking a little bit here. But just want to make sure that when we're interviewing devs that we give them their best chance to put their basically to answer the questions so that we can continue doing these developer interviews. One thing I want to ask Michael is how it's been working with John, because I know now that John has joined the studio as a competitive player. Michael, you've had some opportunity to interact with him. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what it's been like to work with a competitive player?
Sure. Oh boy, I thought I was excited about my job. And then I met John in person. Holy, like, he has some of the most incredibly infectious enthusiasm for Gears of War I've ever seen, like, second to none. Like, working with him, like, even just for the 1 week has just been a blast. Like, he's not just going to be a great community resource studio, but he's also going to be a great design one as well. It's just invaluable to have somebody who's actually played the game competitively, be able to give feedback on what we're working on. It's going to be great. It's going to do great things for the studio.
Cool. There's a lot of comments in the chat about your choice of Old Town, and I think that mostly has to do with, I think you have made a good point about lanes. It's something that I've heard you guys talk a lot about. But in terms of the symmetrical nature of the maps, I know you've got a lot of opinions on that. How do you feel about symmetrical maps overall? And again, this just being your own personal opinion and not necessarily Black Tusk's.
I think symmetrical maps probably is the best representation of how Gears is supposed to play. And obviously for a game that wants to be, like, is a competitive game, is a technical game, having fair maps is important, and obviously it's difficult to achieve that with asymmetrical maps. It's not impossible. There are great asymmetrical maps in Gears 3 that still work fairly well as competitive maps. I think, like, Drydock is a pretty good example. But for the most part, symmetrical maps, you're going to have the most fair experience.
For sure. Yeah, that's been something that I know Ryan is really passionate about as well. So it's great to see you guys kind of listening to community feedback and kind of hearing what people want. Last question for you, Michael. Thanks for joining us today. In general, how do you feel the vibe is at Black Tusk Studios right now? We've gone through, I think our last couple of team meetings have been really amped up. In general, what would you say is like the vibe right now of the studio heading into the holidays?
It's just incredible. Like, we've had a couple team meetings now where we've just shown like there's just so much stuff going on at the studio, and like there's so much great work, so much passion going on in the studio, and like whenever I'm in one of those meetings and we're seeing all the work that's going on, I'm just thinking, like, I cannot wait to share, what we're doing with you guys, and I know that you guys are just going to love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
Appreciate it as well. Sure, everyone else appreciates your insight on that. So if you're just tuning in, if you missed it all, Logic wins Stay Frosty. Russ Lung did win the first series, but Logic was able to pull it out in an intense fashion, going down to the last round of the last map. Little problems with summons getting flooded offline, but like I said, they were able to pull it out. And let's just give our shout-outs to Matters, The Score, Black Tusk, Jack, Michael's here, all of Matters Gaming staff. I don't really know all of them, but Yeche here. The man commentated and streamed for 2 straight days. Even when he had to stop talking for his roommate, he still stayed with us, so thank you for that. And anyone could have easily just quit when they couldn't do what they wanted to do. He stayed with us, so thank him for that. Thank everyone that supported, tuned into the stream, retweeted, tweeted it out. Your support means a lot. We're not as big as a community as we all want it to be, but with this continuous support and, not bashing each other, we can grow, we can bring our game to where we want it to be. But it's up to everyone. It's a part we all need to take in. None of this flooding stuff during online tournaments. At least be civil in the chats. I mean, there's no reason for everyone to act foolish. Most of us are adults or mature enough to know right from wrong. So, I mean, you guys should know by now. I would say I have faith in Tusk and Fallout. I'm hoping they've seen how Judgment went, and they're smart enough. I have faith in them. They seem like smart individuals. I haven't talked too much with them. They seem like smart individuals. So let's just all give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Thanks, PR. We'll try our best. So I'm about to take off. As you guys know, I'm like really just craving that chocolate cake right now. No, I'm just kidding. But I did want to say thank you to everyone in Matters Gaming for putting together this tournament. Thank you to Yeche and PR for commentating and Fallout for commentating. Everyone's done an amazing job. We've got lots of great events coming up for Gears of War over the next couple months. Black Tusk events, Matters Gaming events, hype events. There's a lot to be excited about. So I'll see you guys there. And thank you again to everybody who's so passionate about this game. We love it too, and we can't wait to keep playing this game with you guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye. You have a good night, and thank you again, man. And thank you, Michael. I didn't really know what questions you guys can answer, but I understand you guys not being able to answer them. I'm not like one of those people like, why can't he answer? Because it's his job.
No problem.
Thank you for participating, though.
Michael, you still there?
Yeah.
Mind if I ask one question?
Depends what it is.
Will Griffin be in the next game?
Sorry, one more time?
Will Griffin be in the next game?
Would be interesting. He does allude to a future with Phoenix in Gears 3, so that would be interesting.
Okay.
So just for the future reference, what kind of questions am I allowed to ask? Because I don't want to have that happen again.
Yeah, obviously we just can't talk about specifics on what we're working on.
Okay. Like basically make it as general as possible.
Yeah, that